Hey everyone, today we're going to be going through the I-765 and I'm going to share with you some information about how you're going to file this, specifically in the case when you have a pending adjustment of status application or if you're going to be filing that concurrently. So one of the first things I want to mention is who's going to file this. Okay, so who can file this? Well, there's many different categories of 765 application categories, but who's going to file this? It's not only someone who wants work authorization, surprisingly. Like even a child could apply for this, and the benefit of that would be that they get a social security number. I won't go into it now, but there's a host of benefits to having an SSN, that social security number in the US. So even if you have minors in your file, you're going to want to apply for them as well. As well as yourself, and even someone, if it's allowed, and even maybe someone who is not necessarily looking to work, but you should still have it for the purpose of being able to get that SSN and all the benefits that come with that, or just thinking about filing for taxes. It's just a helpful number to have here in the US. So that's my point one. Point two, filing it. Are you going to do it concurrently, which means you're filing it with that 485 application for adjustment of status, or are you doing it after the fact? It really just depends on where you are in the process now. I would say if you haven't filed the 485 yet, just plan to file this along with the 485 and not making yourself take that extra step. If you already have filed the 485 and you have your receipt notice, then you can go ahead and file this separately. It's just going to look slightly differently. The form is exactly the same. The evidence that you're going to submit is just very slightly different because you need to show that you have that 485 pending. If you're filing after the fact, if you file this form with the 485, then obviously you don't need to show it's pending because you're filing it at the same time concurrently. Okay, the third thing I'm going to talk about is the category. So this is really one of the only tricky things, it's not even really that difficult, that comes up with the 765 when people are filling this out, is that they don't know what category they are filing under. So if you're going through the K1 process, or you're doing adjustment of status and you've had the I-130 approved, or maybe you're filing the 45 even with the I-130, you can bundle this all together. You're going to do a category C9. So C in parentheses, 9 in parentheses. That's what you're going to do. There are other instances where you could use this category, and there are many different types of categories that we're just not going to go through all today. So I will leave it at that because I'm mainly focusing on the family-based applications myself, and that's just who I'm doing this video for. Okay, the next thing, number 4, are you going to do this on paper or are you going to do it online? So you can either file this form physically, like a physical paper copy, or you can do it online. The online version is slightly less expensive. There's a slightly lower fee, and we'll go through that when I show you where you find the fees. So that could be a benefit to filing online. I think there's pretty much no downside to filing online. I think it's easier in some respects. I think it's, you get the receipt notice easier. Everything's just right there in your My USCIS account. So I would prefer to file it online. I would think there's really no downside to filing online, except the only one thing that I can think of is if My USCIS is being glitchy, then you might be sort of forced to file a paper filing, which in that case, I just want you to be aware of how you would do that. And you can do that because at times My USCIS is down, or they won't let you upload a certain document. Like I had a case where they just didn't let me upload evidence for weeks, and I tried saving it in all different forms and PDFs and from different computers and different browsers, and deleting the history and the cookie. Like it was a whole thing. And then just one day it randomly decided to work. So if you are running into some kind of issue like that with My USCIS, then I would say just be aware the paper version is available if you want to go ahead and file that too. So with that, okay, let's get into this. So you're going to be seeing all the original U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS websites here. So we're getting the original information from this website. You don't really want to go elsewhere. You see it has the .gov. This is the original site, and you're going to want to file this or look at this right before you file it, because sometimes the form like the forms will be updated, and maybe it'll be updated and you don't realize it. So maybe you have a version that someone sent you or you downloaded yourself a year ago. I would definitely, or maybe even a month ago, just definitely look for the most updated form. Okay. So this is what the online version looks like. This is the attorney side of things. So this is going to look a little bit different than you. This isn't a particular client, it's just a test account. But you can see that you can just upload the PDF form here. So you're still going to be using the 765 PDF application that is available on the USCIS website. You just simply finish it as you would a paper copy that you're mailing in, but you're just going to upload it here instead. Okay, let's go to the there we go. Okay, so I'm at the I-765 application for employment authorization. And then you come down here to these drop-down boxes. It says forms. You're just going to click on that form. Okay, so here's the actual application itself. You're going to ignore all this up here. You're going to ignore this if you're doing it by yourself. You're not going to need an attorney, or you're not going to need to put anything for the attorney if you're not doing that. So it says start here. Print in black ink, that's important. Okay, so if this is your initial EAD, we'll call it Employment Authorization Document, then you're going to just check that. I'm just going to be going through the initial, but it's rather similar if you're replacing or renewing it. Down here, you're going to put your full name. I got to make a note about the name. Make sure you're consistent with your names. If you have, let's say you have 3 names, okay, in your full name, and there's a first name and then you have a double last name and no middle name, make sure you just put the first name here and the 2 last names here and no middle name. Or if you put one of your last names as the middle name and one of your last names as the family name in your application before, you just want to be consistent, unless you made like a large error before. Okay, so the family name, your given name, middle name, be consistent. Other names used, you're going to put down any other names you've used, nicknames. You put down your U.S. mailing address on the second page. Okay, I feel like it's pretty straightforward. Check yes or no if it's the same as your physical address. So maybe you have your mail sent to, I don't know, a P.O. box or a friend for whatever reason. Okay, then you're going to put your physical address where you're living in the U.S. You're going to put in your A number here, which this should be on the receipt notice from your I-130 or your I-129F. Your sex, marital status, have you filed one before, SSN, if you have one, countries of citizenship, and if you have more than 2, you're going to put the information at the very last page. Okay, moving on to the next page. It's pretty straightforward biographical information, right? Place of birth, okay, date of birth, information about your last arrival in the U.S. You can look at this I-94 information from the CBP website. You can find it there if you don't have it elsewhere. Your most recently issued passport. I often skip the travel document. If you already have the passport, you just skip that. Country that issued it, expiration date, last arrival in the U.S., where you were admitted, your status, current immigration status. If you're an F1, you're probably not filing this, but you would put it there if you have one. This is that tricky question I was talking about. That's going to be C9, right? So you'd put C9 and leave that blank. This, if you're just doing the K1 visa and you have no kind of F1 background, that student visa background, just leave all this blank. Okay, this is not a C8 category, so we're leaving that blank as well. Where this isn't, right, your C9, right, so this doesn't apply either. Skip that. We're going to skip this because if you entered these eligibility categories, right, we're just talking about C9 today. So we're going to skip that. Okay. Then the next page, it gives you A note about the penalties section of Form 765. You have to read this in the instructions. So the instructions I pulled up over here. Just going to look at penalties. So you're going to just read this. If you knowingly or willfully falsify or conceal a material fact or submit a false document with your 765, we will deny your application and may deny any other immigration benefit. In addition, you will face severe penalties provided by law and may be subject to criminal prosecution. Okay, so basically saying don't lie in the form, don't submit fake documents. Okay, here, if you read English, you're just going to simply check I can read English, and you're going to bypass the interpreter information that's requested later. Down here, you can skip that later. If you do need an interpreter, let's say you're watching this video and you are filling this out or helping a spouse or your fiance with this, which I guess they'd be your spouse now, then you can use that interpreter, right? You're going to say that an interpreter helped you if the person who you're filing this for, or who's filing this, who you're helping out with filing this for, doesn't speak English, they're going to have interpreter information. Okay. And then you just write their language, which this box isn't letting me enter anything. And the interpreter, if you do need one, should go through every question in detail, even the ones that don't necessarily apply to this individual, because the applicant is the one who's signing it, as you can see here. So they need to be aware of everything that's in this application, even if you, as someone helping them out, may not think that it's relevant. Okay, here's the applicant's contact information. You put in their telephone number, mobile number, maybe just the same thing, email. This probably doesn't apply to you. Applicant certification, make sure the applicant is aware of this. Read this to them if they need it, or if you are the applicant, make sure you do read through this. It's, saying that everything's true and accurate. Okay, and then you're going to sign here. And with the signature, you're going to want to send in your, a wet ink signature. They don't have that wet ink requirement at the moment, but that is sort of the gold standard, I would say. You definitely do not want to do, even if you're not going to do that wet ink signature that you're sending in, you're definitely not going to want to do like a -s or /s/ and then type in your name, or don't type in your name, just actually sign it. It's important. And then put the date that you signed it right under there. Here's the interpreter information that I was talking about earlier. Pretty self-explanatory. Name, their information, mailing address, contact information. Then they're also going to swear that they interpreted this or translated it correctly to the applicant. They're going to sign right there. Date it. Then this prepare information would be for someone who's preparing this for someone else. If you're simply assisting, coordinating, getting this done, let's say you're the spouse and you're trying to get this done for your spouse, right? I wouldn't necessarily put your information here. This is more like for an attorney or someone who's preparing it for another individual. Then, yeah, you can pretty much ignore this part because you're not going to use that if you're just doing this for yourself. Okay, and then here's that additional information section. If you do need more space for whatever reason for any of those questions, you're going to put the extra information here. Okay, you're going to make sure you put in your name, your A number, and then the page number of whatever question you want to expound on here, the part number, and the item number. So the part number would be right here where it says part, and then the item number is going to be the actual. So let me find a better example. So let's say you want to add extra country. Let's say you have 3 countries you're a citizen or national. You're going to put page 2, part 2, item number. I would just put 14. Okay. And then you'll put the extra countries. You would list the extra countries right there. So that is that form. Pretty easy, I would say. I think you can do it. I have confidence in you. And then the filing fees. Oh, really quick, let's go back here. Oh, not here. Not there. That one out. Okay. The filing fees. Okay. So right now, USCIS has phased out or within last year, they phased out taking checks. They don't really take checks anymore, right? USCIS no longer accepts payments made by personal check, business check, money order, cashier's check, with some few exceptions. So you're going to either need to use, if you're doing a paper filing, you're either going to need to use this form, the Form G1450, if you want to make a card payment, or if you want to do an ACH transaction, you're going to do the G1650. Okay, and you're just going to put this right on top of your 765 when you're mailing this in. So this is going to go on top. Make sure you actually sign it. I'm not going to look at both these, but I'll take a look at this. Also, make sure you have the most recent version. Okay, just one page. Pretty straightforward. You're going to need to put your own. This is another little trap you could fall into, is getting the payment amount wrong, because your application will not be accepted if you get that wrong and maybe returned to you. Definitely will not be accepted if it's wrong. Even if even if it's for too much, it's still going to be rejected. So how do you find that fee amount? You're going to go fees. You're going to have to find the fee schedule. It's the G1055 fee schedule. Okay. Form, not that. Fee schedule. Okay, so general filing. So this is the I-765 general filing for initial replacement or renewal of employment authorization document unless noted below. So unless noted below, it's a pretty long list, right? So here's your paper filing fee is going to be $520. The online filing fee is $470. This is just of today. I'm recording this in July 2026. So this is just right now. Please do check this. Very, very important before you file this. And this is actually the same even if you have a application pending. It used to be that this was just free. See that you can kind of see that from the history. The 765 used to not have a filing fee if you filed it concurrently, and now does have a filing fee. You're filing it right along with that 485. So see, it says if you are filing for an initial replacement or renewal employment authorization document and you have a pending 485. So right, if you're not going to file this together, you're filing it after the fact, and that 485 is pending, that you filed on or after July 30th, 2007 and before April 1st, 2024, and you paid the 485 filing fee, you have no filing fee for this application. Okay? But I would hope your adjustment of status has been granted by then if it's been pending that long. But if it's not, and you're just now getting around to this, then that's that. Okay, so you see like all of these different categories where they have sort of exceptions to the regular filing fee, but I will just give you a heads up. It does not apply to, none of these apply to that C9 category with what we're talking about, right? So this is a C9 based on special immigrant juvenile status seeking to adjust. Then you're going to pay $0 filing fee. But that's not the K1 or adjustment of status or that I-130 adjustment of status pending. It's different, right? These are all not related to what we're talking about. Cuban Adjustment of Status Act, Haitian Refugee Immigration Fairness Act, like, no, not related to Section 245M. It's not a VAWA case. Oh, that's important to note. If you're seeking adjustment of status based on VAWA self-petitioner, including your derivatives, you're also going to have a $0 filing fee. Okay, so you get the idea. If you are filing online, and this is another benefit of doing it online, they're just going to have the filing fee pop up for you and you can pay it with a card or with the ACH payment, and you don't need to fill out an extra form, and you can just have that fee. It's going to pop up right in front of you. You don't need to separately discern what that fee is. It'll just be there for you. Okay, what else? Okay, evidence. So in the My USCIS form, it's going to show you what evidence to upload where, but I'll just show you in the instructions here where you can find what evidence you need. Status. There we go. Okay, so adjustment of status categories. This is in the Form I-765 instructions. It says adjustment applicant under Section 245C9. This is you if you came here on a K1 or you have the I-130. Either you're filing all concurrently or you have it approved. File the Form 765, right, telling you to file it together with the 485, or if filing separately, submit a copy of your 485 receipt notice or other evidence that your 485 is pending. Okay, so that's what I mentioned at the beginning of this little video. If you filed the 485 with EOR, okay, then you must submit proof that you are currently in immigration proceedings, that you properly filed the 485 with immigration court. I'm not going to get into that too much. I'm just going to talk about if you're not in removal proceedings, because that gets into some other issues. Okay, so basically you see, C9 looks like I need to file that receipt notice. That's the only kind of extra unique piece that you're going to have to file here, apart from the regular evidence that everyone's going to file. So let's see. Okay, required documentation. Here's the page I was looking for. Required documentation. So this is what's going to be required for everyone across the board. All right, along with that 765. So you're required to show, okay, we're going to talk about that now. Right, we talked about getting that filing fee with the filing fee form. You need that, right, so that goes on the top of your packet. It's important that you kind of put these documents in the right order. Then underneath the filing fee, if you're doing paper filing, you're going to have that signed application. All the pages, single-sided, filled out in black, wet ink signature. Okay, the following documents, you're going to need your Form I-94, front and back, printout of it, okay? Right, okay, so you're going to get it from the passport or from your travel document, or you can get it from the CBP website. Okay, the copy of your EAD, if you have one issued already, you're going to have that. But if this is your first one, you're not going to have that. Don't worry about it. Okay, if you were not previously issued an EAD, you must submit a copy of your government-issued identity document. Passport would be great, showing your picture, name, date of birth, a birth certificate with photo ID. Okay, so these are some alternatives, right? So basically that government-issued photo identification from your country. And then, yeah, make sure that the passport picture or the picture on that identification is clear. Photographs, you must submit 2 identical colored passport style photographs of yourself taken recently. If you're doing this on, just make sure you follow these requirements, just the regular 2x2. If I would typically just tell people to get these done at a CVS, Walgreens, whatever kind of place these, and you can just now ask for them to send you the digital versions. There are also different apps or websites where you can have someone just take a picture of you, of your face and shoulders like you would have taken in a passport photo, and you can put it into an app and it makes it look like a little passport photo taken, or a passport picture like you would have taken at like a CVS. Okay, and if you're putting these in physically, then you need to write really lightly without a ballpoint pen, like a pencil or felt pen. Okay, they're very specific. The A number and your name on the back of these photos so that they will, make their way together. It will be very tempting to want to put a paperclip on this, but do not put a paperclip on these. Just put them in the packet and you will be fine. Okay, so that's that. Right, so we've talked about, just recap, who to file for, right? You're going to want to file for anyone who has this application pending, even if they're not necessarily looking to work. You can file it concurrently or you can file it after the fact. The only difference in the documentation is going to be that receipt notice or that documentation showing that the 45 is pending, which will generate automatically if you did file the 45 online, but right now that's not available for the family categories we are talking about. Then we talked about how the category that you're going to be filing for, if you came here in a K1 and are adjusting, or if you have the I-130 45 that's pending, is going to be C9. Okay, we spoke about paper versus online, when you would do each of those, the benefits or disadvantages of those, and how they do vary slightly, and how you're going to compile your evidence, and the fee, how much it's going to cost. So on the online version, which I'm not in right now, and it's going to look different for you anyways, because I don't have I didn't have a personal account up, it's my attorney account, but it's going to say, 2x2 photo. There's going to be an evidence drop down box, so you click that, it's going to come down, you do 2x2 photo, upload those, 45 receipt notice, upload that sort of thing. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, where to file. So these are the filing locations. And again, this is on there, just uscis.gov/I-765. I-765. Where to file, please check the filing locations for the addresses. If you have a pending adjustment of status application, that was it. Okay, C9. So if you're we're just talking about if you have that pending application, then you go to the lockbox chart for certain family-based forms. And then let's say I'm in Michigan, so I'll see Michigan. If you're filing this 765, certain family-based forms, 765, you're going to go down to whatever state you are. So if you're Texas, you're going to look at this information. One of these states, you're going to look at this information. One of these states here. So I just have a personal preference for FedEx. I don't know why. I like them. So I would just use this address. Okay, so you're going to go to FedEx and send it to this address if you're from one of these states. Do you see how that works? They're all divided up into different lock boxes. So just make sure it gets to the right one and only use one of these for different delivery services. Okay, so that's about how you or where to file it. Okay, so I hope that was a helpful overview of how you're going to do that 765. I'm going to make the case that it still might be helpful to have an immigration attorney do this for you, just in case, one, this feels overwhelming to you for whatever reason, getting it done correctly, or making sure you file in the right place, or making sure you get the right address and get it to the right address. It can definitely help you with that. Or if you have any other immigration questions, just please feel free to reach out. If you did find me through this video, then I would be happy to talk to you for 15 minutes for free. And I hope that you have a great day and best of luck getting your employment authorization document. Bye.